For 25 years, humanity has lived here, 400 kilometers above Earth, aboard the International Space Station. It is the most expensive object that has ever been built. It's a symbol of cooperation between nations that once saw each other as enemies, and it is the only place where humans have lived continuously off of our planet. Inside of these pressurized hulls, we learned how bodies adapt to weightlessness, how plants grow in microgravity, how international rivals can become crewmates, and so much more. But this extraordinary outpost is aging. Its solar panels are weathered. Its modules, some launched in the 90s, show their years, and with every orbit, the ISS is nudged back against its slow fall back towards Earth, at a cost of $3 to $4 billion each year. By the end of this decade, the ISS will be retired, deliberately guided into the atmosphere, where it will burn up and vanish into the Pacific Ocean. The era of the ISS is ending, and what comes after will be unlike anything you've ever seen. Nations now face a choice: continue funding the ISS, or redirect billions to the next great frontier, the Moon and Mars. NASA's answer is clear. In the 2020s, America will hand over low Earth orbit to private companies, while focusing on Artemis and deep space exploration. But there's a risk. If private stations aren't ready in time, humanity could face a gap, a silent orbit for the first time in many decades. Meanwhile, China's Tiangong station is already fully operational, hosting crews and preparing new modules. Russia too has announced plans for its own station, the Ross, as soon as 2027. For NASA and its allies, abandoning low Earth orbit is not an option. Continuous human presence is vital for science, for astronaut training, and for the strategic leadership in space that's necessary in the age of AI for navigating the geopolitical tensions that are occurring around the world. What is the solution? For the first time in history, space stations will not be built by nations, but by companies. In Houston, Axiom Space is racing to build the first private station. Its modules will first attach to the ISS around 2027, then detach to fly independently before the ISS is deorbited. Axiom is already flying private astronaut missions. Billionaires, researchers, and international crews hitching a ride aboard SpaceX Dragons. These flights generate revenue and experience for both teams. Inside its future station, Axiom plans labs, tourist suites with vast Earth-facing windows, and even a media module for film projects. But building a station isn't cheap. Axiom estimates $3 billion for its first 4 modules, far less than the ISS, but still enormous for a startup. In 2023, financial strains raised alarms at NASA. Axiom secured more funding, but the risks remain. Their revised plan now aims for minimal 2-module outpost in 2028. Small, but enough to keep American astronauts in orbit as the ISS sunsets. Blue Origin and Sierra Space envisions something larger. Orbital Reef, a business park in space. It could house 10 people, with inflatable habitats offering volumes far bigger than anything on the ISS today. Boeing will provide labs, Redwire the research facilities, and Hilton Hotels is helping design the interior for private visitors. The concept? A shared orbital hub where governments, companies, and tourists coexist. But Orbital Reef depends on Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, still yet to fly as of 2025. If New Glenn slips further, so does the station. And while Sierra's inflatable life modules have passed ground tests, they've never been flown in space. Orbital Reef promises a vision of scale and comfort, but its schedule is fragile. Across the Atlantic, Starlab is rising. Led by Voyager Space and NanoRacks, in partnership with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Airbus, Starlab is designed to launch in a single rocket. Inside, it will host the George Washington Carver Science Park, with 4 laboratories for biology, physics, and agriculture. Airbus's involvement ties Starlab directly to Europe. The European Space Agency has already signed agreements, seeing Starlab as its path beyond the ISS. Starlab is quite ambitious, one launch to deploy a fully functional station by 2028. But it faces the same pressure as the others: funding, rocket schedules, and the unforgiving clock of the ISS retirement. Behind these glossy renderings, hard problems still remain. NASA has invested over $400 million to jumpstart these projects, but the bulk of the costs come down from private investors. A single delay could shake confidence and stall the dream. Closed-loop life support, autonomous docking, inflatable habitats, reliable safety systems, all must work flawlessly with small crews and less government oversight than the ISS ever had. Today, there's no legal framework for private stations. Congress is debating who will license and oversee them. Until then, companies operate in a sort of grey zone. By 2030, the ISS will fall. If these stations are not ready, humanity could lose its foothold in orbit, perhaps ceding leadership to others. The race is real, and the clock is ticking. Low Earth orbit is just the beginning. NASA and its partners are building the Lunar Gateway, a small outpost orbiting our moon. Private companies may attach modules, or even build surface habitats. On the moon's south pole, Artemis aims to build a base camp, with NASA and commercial modules side by side. Inflatable habitats buried in lunar dust could protect crews for long stays. And beyond lies Mars. Elon Musk envisions starships at the first Martian habitat. By the 2030s or 40s, a small Mars base may emerge, built not by nations, but by SpaceX. The 2020s will be remembered as the decade when humanity's home in space changed forever. From a single government station to a constellation of outposts, some for science, some for business, some for adventure and the human spirit. This is not science fiction. Metal is being cut as we speak. Habitats are being tested. Astronauts are training. The first villages of space modules are under construction. They will not be perfect. There will be delays, struggles, and perhaps failures, but each success will teach us how we live beyond Earth. The ISS showed us it was possible. The next generation of stations will show us it's sustainable. And when we look back in 20 years, these fragile outposts may be remembered as the moment humanity truly begins to build a home among the stars. Thanks so much for watching. If you believe humanity's future lies beyond Earth, subscribe and hit that share and like button. It really helps us out. The story of our future in space is only just beginning. See you next time.